1938 Montgomery Ward's Airline Radio Resurrection. And this thing was left for dead. And this might have been made by Belmont Radio. I don't remember the details. Anyway, it's got channel presets, kind of like an old auto radio, where it actually, you push it and it rotates the, when I clean all the trash out, it'll work. But yeah, KFI is still on the air. KNX is still on the air. And I'll be very curious to see if these are actually adjusted to the right frequency when we get it resurrected. Does some shortwave, huh? That's kind of nice. I wasn't having any success identifying this radio in order to get the schematic, so I sent a couple pictures to Radio TV Phono Nut, because he is really good at that stuff, and he came back with a Montgomery Ward 62-361, and I had settled on that, and then I was looking through the wood scraps here, and I saw this, and he got it right. He won the lottery on this one. So anyway, all the tubes were yanked, and whenever you see something like this, whenever you come across a radio like this, you have to just assume that the power transformer's bad or the IF transformers are bad. Something unobtainable is bad, and that's probably why they ditched it. I mean, especially something that's in such great condition as this thing is. Why would you ever want to get rid of this museum quality piece? Anyway, this is for the tuning eye indicator, which was right here. We will not be doing anything with that because tuning eyes do exceed value of radio. Oh, and this power cord. Ooh. Extra crunchy. So this tuning thing works like this. Anyway, we'll get into that later. So the first thing I did is I started to dig the tubes up. And here's what I've come up with. 6K7, 5Y3, 6A8, 6A8. I had a question mark on this one. I guess I tested this and maybe it was weak. 6K6, and a spark plug, a mechanically regapped spark plug. Now, I saw a video on the internet. If you add a coil of wire to this radio and a spark plug, it will also become a perpetual energy generating machine and will power your whole house. So that's what I got the spark plug. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this working, and then we will add the coil and the spark plug, as is seen on so many social media videos that have millions and millions of views, making perpetual motion electric generating machines out of a spark plug and an electric motor. The one tube I could not seem to locate in my stash, even though my paperwork says I have it, was a 6Q7, which would be sort of the same as today the 12AV7, or is it 12AV6? Anyway, it's a triode and double diode. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to make an adapter for a 6SQ7, which is basically the same thing. It just doesn't have the grid cap. So this is a bad one. This one's bad, so I'm going to break this up, take the base off of this, and then this is a good one. I'm going to make an adapter to go between the 6SQ7 and the 6Q7, and we'll drop a 6Q7 in here because everybody loves Q. The speaker is in resurrectable condition. We should be able, as long as the coil is not open, we should be able to get audio out of this. And if we do happen to run into something like a bad power transformer or a bad IF can or something, I'll just find one. We'll just use a color TV power transformer out of this to make this work. But yeah, I was hoping to glue this back together, but this has gotten so warped. 50 watts. So this should be fun. Let's resurrect it. Let's make it play again. Cleaned it all up with some compressed air and a brush. And check this out. They actually put the tube numbers in the socket. See that 6K6, 6Q7. Imagine a time when things were built to be serviceable like this. 6K7. So it's all cleaned up. Or I should say, imagine a time when it was intended for things to be easily serviced by the owner. Anyway, this is the Montgomery Ward Belmont, and this is the Crosley. I believe this is the ripoff. So this is the modern plastic Chinese radio that's trying to rip off the look of this. So here's my 6SQ7 to 6Q7 adapter. And you can see what I do is I just get the print out the data sheets and just figure it out. I have a whole bunch of 6SQ7s, and I think I found one 6Q7, and I like to make adapters, so let's try this. They're the same, pretty much the same electrically. They're just, one of them has a plate cap, the 6Q7 has a plate cap, and the 6SQ7 we had to build the, a grid cap. That little nipple there is for the grid. After I'm done, I test it on a tube tester and make sure I got it wired right. And yeah, this one checks out good. This is the guts from the 6SQ7 that I parted out to get the base off of for the adapter. Let's take this apart. This thing tested pretty much dead. Well, first of all, this at the top, this is your triode amplifier, audio amplifier, and then down here are your two diodes, your two detector diodes. So here's the grid. Here's the grid coil. Here's the filament tube, the cathode. This, of course, is the plate, grid, cathode. And you can see this is the emitting, this white substance is the electron emitting that burns off, and it does not look burned off. This down here was, of course, inside the diode. And then you can see the filaments here. Those are the filaments for the indirectly heated cathode. I actually think I discovered the problem with this tube, which was the cathode weld was broken right here. This little thing right here is supposed to be welded to the cathode tube, and it was not. That probably is why it tested dead. This is the same thing that fails in CRTs. This little thing breaks away from the cathode. So not much to it. Sorry this is so shaky. Again, the grid, which was welded, the wire for it was welded on top, and then the plate, and these two tabs were through the top here, and it was crimped, and then the cathode. And this is the same cathode for the diode. It shares the cathode. So that's it. And then the filament. And the filament is coated. See this white stuff? That's like a ceramic insulation, that white stuff. So when you get a heater to cathode short, it is because this white stuff has failed off the filament, and these wires are touching this tube right here. So that's your heater to cathode short when this white ceramic insulation fails. These things are just a total marvel of engineering. I mean, you think about how many different ones, and this one is simple. These damn things that, think of the compactrons and how incredibly 11, 12 element tubes. This is like, what, a 7 element tube, and 2 of them are diode plates. This is nothing. Just absolutely amazing if you look at this damn thing. I cut that off, and these are actually your 2 diodes right here. Those 2 little things. So there's the cathode tube next to the 2 diode plates. See this right here, this white was the emitting surface that was inside these 2 diodes. So that's it. The diodes are just a plate and a cathode. So if we want to continue to waste time on this right here, this is the plate. See, plate, that's this. This dashed line, that's this right here. And this cathode right here at the bottom above the heater, this is the heater, this little arrow looking thing. So this right here is the tube, and you can see how there's these 2 diodes. See plate 1 and plate 2 for the 2 diodes. That's these 2 right here. So there, it should all make sense. And then of course the heater, the little arrow looking thing, is this that I broke. So this literally charts the physical layout of components inside the vacuum tube. This is why I made the 6SQ7 to 6Q7 adapter, because I have just a few 6SQ7s. Just a few to spare. Also, instead of the 5Y3, I want to try this. Now, you can make these. You've seen me make these out of 2 silicon diodes, one N4007 and a tube base. But this is actually like a legit manufactured one, and it has a 1N number on it. Here's the electrical ratings. This is a 1N1238. It's a 5018, so we go to 5018. So it's a 1600 volt, 8 amp, huh? And 750 milliamps, and that's what it replaces. 5AU4, 5AW4. So I wonder if this thing has something, yeah, I don't know, for the filaments in it. Is this like thing, they never did series string on rectifier tubes, but this thing is very heavy. I wonder if it's got some kind of power resistor or something in it. Man, it is heavy. It is really heavy. So I think we'll try this instead of that. I thought that might be kind of interesting. And the first thing I should do before I even power this up or put the tubes in is let's pull the chassis out and look underneath. It appears to have all 4 original screws in the bottom, which is something special. This looks like this was changed. It's probably going to need to be changed again and again and again. This looks like this was changed. That looks like that was changed with the red. That is probably the audio output coupling capacitor. If that leaks, it will destroy the audio output tube. Other than that, there's not much to this, is there? Look at all these old resistors. Was that 3 meg? Orange, black, green. Got a bunch of trimmers here. Okay. Let's get the ESR meter and do a couple quick tests. First thing we're going to check with the ESR meter with the power switch on is the power switch, and the power switch is bad. So we could start there. Bad power switch. Let me work that. Second thing we'll check is the electrolytic capacitor, which, no surprise there, it's as dead as the power switch. Now if you look at this power cord, it's actually double insulated. That's cloth, a cloth covering of the actual raw wires. So I'm going to just get a dim bulb here, and we'll start off low, like 10 or 25 watts, and I want to see if I want to check the audio output transformer, the field coil. It comes out of the rectifier, filter capacitor, then the field coil, which acts as a choke to suppress the hum, and then another capacitor. And this is 350 volt at 4 and 8 microfarads. So I want to power it up. I want to check the field coil. I want to check this, the primary of this. This is an 11 watt sine bulb, and as soon as you put 120 volts on the switch, it suddenly starts working. I guess the voltage arcs through and burns the layer of corrosion off. I don't know. Anyway, that sure is kind of bright for... That's pretty bright for no load. There's no tubes at all. Okay, I'm going to pop the rectifier in. I popped the rectifier in and the bulb didn't change at all. Just sort of concerning. So our line voltage going in on AC is 7 volts. So that means if we got 120 volts, we got what, 112 volts is being dropped across the light bulb. The light bulb's taking the brunt of it. I'm going to try going up in size, but that sure seems like an excessive load from just the transformer, just the bad power factor of the transformer. 25 watt bulb, I got 16 volts across the input. So the light bulb is absorbing 125 minus 16 or 120 minus 16. That sure seems like a hell of a lot of load for no tubes and a solid state rectifier. This is a 40 watt bulb, and I got 23 volts. So the bulb is basically assuming 100 volts. So what's going on here with this? Is this a bad power transformer? It sort of looks like it might have puked out a loaf of chunks there. That's what I was looking at. That's the one thing I really don't want to change if I don't have to. And just not to let anybody down, let's say hello to our traditional dead spider that we have in every single radio repair video. But this is not good. This is not good. Something is really... something's loading this thing down big time. And no, it cannot be the filter capacitor. Well, I can pull the rectifier out to verify. Rectifier is out, and I can actually see this bulb in here barely glowing a little bit. See that? I'll go up to a bigger bulb. But this sure seems like an excessive load for a 50 watt radio. Man, that's a 60 watt bulb, and that gives us 40 volts, 38 volts. On the secondary, we have 157, whatever volts. Still seems like an extremely heavy load for just a transformer to be drawing with nothing on the other side of it. On the rectifier filament, we have 1.8 volts. On the tube filaments, we have 2.3. And remember, we're on a 60 watt bulb now, and the power transformer is starting to get hot. It's getting hot with no load on it at all. No tubes. The only load on it is the little lamp up there. And the reason why I checked all the secondary voltages is I wanted to see if maybe something else was shorted in here. And, you know, one of the filament voltages was shorted. No, this has got to be in the power transformer. I mean, should I just bypass it and should we just watch it smoke? Or what? Remember, the radio is rated at 50 watts, working properly. It's at 44.8 right now. I'm going to bypass this. Let's see what happens. If it goes up in smoke, it goes up in smoke. Oh, yeah. And our filament voltage is 6.4. Wow. Let's see what the power factor is. Wow, the power factor is 1? The power factor is 1. That's like a purely resistive load. The power transformer is presenting a purely resistive load. That's very interesting. Well, it's dropping. The wattage is dropping. Oh, it's getting hot. Ooh, I can smell it. Yeah, we're gonna have smoke here pretty soon. Yeah, it started puking before. That's what all that spooge is. Okay, so I found our shorted turn. It's on the secondary. So if I go from ground to one side of the center tap, it's 285 volts. If I go to the other side of the center tap, it's 148, 145 volts. So those should be even. That's measuring these two windings right here. They should be even. One of them's got a shorted turn in it, and it's causing it to draw a lot of current and get very hot, and we should see smoke anytime soon. So it's kind of calming down, I guess, as it... There it just went up. I guess as it heats up, the resistance is going up in the windings. Before I totally smoke this thing, I want to use it to do some voltage checks. So coming out of the rectifier, I put the rectifier back in, we have 64 volts. On the plate of the audio output tube, we have 65 volts, indicating that the secondary of the audio output is good. Looks like the field coil is measuring 1.56K. And the voice coil is measuring 4 ohms. That seems okay. So the spec for the field coil is 1550. I guess that's okay. Now, in the very beginning of this video, I mentioned that, the radio was beat down with all the tubes removed. Why was it like that? And I actually said one of the things could be the power transformer. Well, I had no prior knowledge of that. I had never checked this radio out before. That's just always a good estimation when you come across a radio with all the tubes pulled, that somebody found something wrong with it they couldn't fix, and they were intending on just dumping it. But the odor of this transformer has given me an instant headache. I don't know what... Wow, that's hot. I'm going to load the tubes up, and let's see what happens. We have it'll run for a few minutes, and it's producing power. It's just going to smoke. Tubes are populated. This could be a problem right here. If this grounds out. But here we go. I got a 500 watt bulb there just because I want some protection. Power has been applied. It is dead. Why quiet? That's the grid of the audio output tube. Why is it totally quiet? Looking at the grid voltage, it's negative half a volt. I think it should be much more negative. I think that capacitor is leaking. Looking at the plate, suddenly we have nothing there. Looking at the plate, there's negative 1.5 volts there. And if I go to the other side of the audio output transformer, these two leads here. Earlier I was measuring the secondary. Yeah, that was my fault. I screwed up. But this primary is here, and the primary of the audio output transformer is open. So that's the plate. This is the supply. So the audio output transformer is bad. Crap. This is an audio output transformer out of a Sylvania color TV. It's not critical. Like I said, we will make this work. And you can just parallel it right across for testing. Yeah, it'll eat up some of the signal, but it's not going to totally kill it. God, that transformer stinks. Come on. That's tone. Nothing, nothing. Except we do have audio now.
Hey, Angels fans, now there's a credit card that's designed just for clearing out of the right-hand lane.
And one of the smartest minds on TV.
Commerce 5 North Street across the country were down between 83 and 90% amid the pandemic.
Not bad for no filter capacitors and no antenna. And a bad power transformer that's getting ready to barf all over the place.
Tallahassee, insured property losses in Florida estimated at more than $9 billion.
To San Francisco on the Labor Day weekend show.
A statement posted to Buffett's official website said Jimmy passed away peacefully on the night of September 1st, surrounded by his family, friends, music, and dogs. Lived his life like a song till the very last breath and will be missed beyond measure by so many. Buffett had a 5-decade career as recording artist and an entrepreneur. He popularized beach bum soft rock with the escapist song Margaritaville and turned that into an empire that included restaurants, resorts, home decor, tequila, and rum. He had an estimated net worth of more than $500 million. He also earned 2 Grammy Award nominations, 2 Academy of Country Music Awards, and a Country Music Association.
Hell yeah, beach bum soft rock. I've heard of yacht rock and doctor's office soft rock, but never beach bum soft rock.
Under President Bill Clinton, as well as being a congressman for 14 years.
I think the reason why it started working when I flipped it over, something was touching ground here. Here's a 47 at 450. Really, that makes it... There we go. That shuts her up. Let me flip it back over. It don't like something.
Came flesh, and he dwelt in air countries not be out there today, which I would assume then we'll see Taki Curtis get his second start today, and then maybe see more of Rajon. Everything you'd expect of a high-end hearing aid, minus the high-end pricing.
Pretty close to KNX.
Visit eargo.com today.
Or is this KNX?
That's the Eargo difference. The iHeartRadio album.
Flaky dakey. Okay. Which one of you crusties is...
No, it's not. It's not there, and the FDIC insurance is not. It's another sham.
play again this week.
Now, initially we was going to say inside linebacker, but we understand why that's going to be different this week. But
Well, that transformer stinks. Can I say that again?
7 pitches. 40 live everywhere on that there iHeartRadio app. Hey, everybody, it's the fourth report on things food and beverage.
That distortion is due to the leaky paper capacitors in these two tubes, in the circuits of these two tubes. Oh, we now have smoke. We now have smoke.
Oakland on the Angels Baseball Radio Network. Get your red on and enjoy yourself. For you to get better, for you to start, for you to get this experience in, because as the weeks go on, the games and are happening with the banks and with the markets. Well, that's the easy thing, his daughter and their architecture, which is aimed at boosting U.S. military communication.
This thing broke. It had this paper thing right here that was like on a pulley. It had these two rollers in the sides like this, and then that actually is probably the other way. Some gimmicky thing like this. Like this, there was one of these rollers here, and there was one here, and it was attached to this thing so it would roll back and forth. But, that paper, this thing is 85 years old. It's like 1937, 1938. So, I mean, not that many people make it as long as this. And it's working, but it's smoking at the same time.
It's about the future. Having lost a loved one still sticks very much in their mind and negatively affects their assessment of life in general and the economic situation in particular. I'm Bloomberg.
Yeah, I think this capacitor is kind of leaky too, because it's like turning to liquid here, or I don't know if that's because the power transformer's like getting everything so hot. Color television power transformer. This is out of one of those Packard Bells, like our test set. And I got this configured, the secondary configured for about 260 volts. The radio wants about 200. So I'm half-wave rectifying it, one diode right here. Then I'm putting our filter here. So all I have going to the radio is ground and hot. So ground connects here. Positive connects here. If you look at the schematic is kind of confusing unless you stare at it for a few minutes. Because, so the center of the power transformer is ground, and then the filament 2 and 8 are positive. Well, they have the ground going through the field coil. Through a resistor network to create a negative bias to the 6K6. So that's what our 8, 9, 10, 11 are. These are all real low value resistors. They're like 40 and 50 ohm. And they create a negative voltage on the grid of the 6K6. Well, they should, if that capacitor isn't as leaky as it is, probably causing the distortion. So I'm going to play around with this. So the next thing I need to do is I need to terminate. I pulled the rectifier out, so that gets the secondary of this out of the circuit. So the next thing I need to do is I need to terminate one of the two filament leads, which I'm going to do right here, because if I just backfeed it in, the 6.3 volts, the damn filament winding, it'll act as a step-up transformer. With the 6.3 volts going into this, it'll act as a step-up transformer with that shorted secondary winding, and it'll continue to smoke. I was supposed to have 200 volts there. Look at what I got. Couldn't get any closer.
It's supposed to be a weekly commitment to support workers and their...
Yeah, we've got a really leaky capacitor here. Well, I've got negative 6 volts on the 6Q6, and I've got negative 45 on the... Something's not right here. Well, I don't think it likes this because now the field coil is smoking. Oh yeah, oh damn. The reason why the field coil was smoking is because this capacitor shorted. It went to 0 ohms. Alright, I'm gonna do a quick band sweep and end it here because the freaking mosquitoes are attacking me. So what happens when you have a hurricane come through. I changed two capacitors, two leaky capacitors. This one and the one that couples to the volume control, and it cleaned up the distortion. So here we go. Let's take a listen.
It's a gloomy kind of day. This Trojan offense is on a fast strike alert today. 5 drives, 4 drives, plays, and with that Caleb touchdown right there,
And then I really do believe that obviously Jordan Love is going to be...
This is really supposed to have a long wire, but I don't have one here.
See, still 6 minutes to go in the half.
We can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage.
Focus on one day at a time. And the most critical...
Oye, Alex, muchas gracias. Tú también estás usando la inteligencia artificial porque veo que estás como en una oficina para hacer... Es curioso ver la película e imaginarse que después de...
110 South at 3rd Street, a separate 2-car crash. They are over to the right, the backup to Academy. And of course, they're filling out a report in Long Beach.
It's a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans. It's a story that rings true. We learn to endure the heat in silence.
En goal at the 1 yard.
Beauty by Rihanna.
Incluso el audio es joven. Esto puede aplicar también para la de regreso a los países.
Make some banana bread. Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
The OGs of LA Sports Radio.
A view of today's culture through a biblical lens. Brought to you by Preborn, saving babies and souls. Join us in the fight to save babies from...
Bell, and he gets hit immediately by Shane Lee. Nice coverage by the linebacker on the
Money because Mr. Ford is at Pacific University. As angry as he would.
Wonder if... No, I was thinking this might be my AM station out of Mexico.
Women
Ha sido considerado.
September 6th, listen to all the magic of an Air France rendezvous. It's time to book your rendezvous with Paris with daily flights from Los.
So there's some squealing and stuff, but the two capacitors I cut out, I just tacked these disc capacitors in. I cut this capacitor out right here, and then we got this, all of these leads, all of these wires hanging all over the place. The radio is not supposed to be like this. So anyway, I said at the beginning of this we would resurrect it, and it's working. So not perfect.
Desde 79.99.
So there's nothing redeemable about this radio. Nothing. Maybe the IF cans. Take the IF cans off and throw the rest of it away. Because, yeah, power transformer's bad. Audio output transformer's bad. It's junk. It's junk. Here's the AM station out of Baja, California that plays nothing but music. Oh, I just missed the station ID. Damn. Look at this. Made in U.S. of America. Where else would it have been made in 1937, 1938? Nothing on shortwave. Not that this thing's gonna pick up in this condition.
36530.
Alright, back to sleep you go, and you're not waking up again. This is it. Two bad transformers and some bad capacitors. I wanted to come back and revisit the Montgomery Ward real quick because I wasn't totally happy with the way the solution that I came up with, and it wasn't great. So I came across a better power transformer. The only thing is the voltages are right on this power transformer. The only thing is it does not have a winding for vacuum tube rectifier filament. So I went with the solid state diodes right there. You can see we got the two solid state diode. You can make this for 5U405Y3. This transformer would actually fit right in this place. Like I said, the voltages are right. These are the filament leads. Green is the filament. I'm just back feeding it into the tuning I-tube socket for convenience. This is the audio output transformer because the one in here is bad. And let's do a quick IF alignment on this. The IF is 465, and then we can, because these always seem to be off. And then I'll show you what I did under the bottom. So you should be able to use this little micro SA. I'm just on 465. make it to where we can just sort of hear it there. Yeah, there is some hum. I don't know why. Probably all these loose leads. Drop the power. I just have it clipped onto the insulation right there. Oop. Should wake it up a little bit. Okay, that's pretty good. That's, for this little crude setup, that's got the IF pretty close.
A message to other businesses. Listen wherever you get your podcast.
Hi, I'm Emily Kaplan, host of the podcast.
Damn, things are all corroded. Let me see if this station's really weak anyway. It's out of Baja, California. It's a high-powered station, but still a long way away. And I don't really have a long wire on this. I just have a couple feet of clip leads.
4 teams tied for one spot. How will the
But the reality of what's happening beyond the gate is not. What is the school doing?
Position, and you'll see that to the 10. And on
radio.com/property. That's relevantradio.com.
Hundreds of hospital workers taking to the streets in Hollywood today.
The story. The route. I don't understand the math. How is that possible?
Well, it gets 1090 right above KNX. That's out of Mexico, too.
Covered all the jobs lost during the pandemic. We've added millions more. People are coming off the sidelines to go to work. More than 700,000 people joined the labor force last month.
Been praising so-called Bidenomics as the campaign.
Okay, there's LA Oldies. This thing's working pretty good. It's really, besides the hum, and I don't know, I got something wrong there. It's working pretty good. And this, you could put this together. This transformer would fit. This, you could, the one that's in there is riveted. So I got the two electrolytics kind of installed. I replaced the capacitor that shorted. I replaced these two capacitors that were leaky. And this is riveted in. If this wasn't riveted in, I would have installed this. But yeah, I mean, I've got it now where it's working good enough and it's resurrectable. So I'm pretty happy. Happier conclusion, not happiest, just happier.